Hi guys, welcome back. So thank you for doing the do now. Right, let's move on to explaining a little bit more detail about Indian classical music. So we've sort of looked at this map. Some African rhythms and African drumming from West Africa. We've looked at calypso and samba from Venezuela and the Caribbean. And we started to look at Indian classical music from the Indian continent, which is just here. Okay, so Indian classical music, we know is broken down into two main sections. One is the raga, which is the name for the tonality, the scales, the notes that make up the piece of music, and the second is the tala. It is the rhythmic phrase that goes through the piece. Now, when we put that together, the raga and the tala, we actually just call that the raga. As confusing as that may be, raga is also the name given for the combination of raga scales and tala rhythms. And they have a very specific four-part structure. So with Indian classical music, you can forget everything that you know about verse, chorus, forget everything you know about like homophony, polyphony, monophony, anything to do with contrapuntal textures and all that sort of thing. That's all out the window, okay? Structure and texture has a very specific type of sort of style in Indian classical music. So it goes a little bit like this. The first section is called the alap. And the alap is where the sitar introduces the raga scale. There's no set pulse. It often feels very fluid and very slow. And there is often a drone, so a long note played by the tambura. So I'll give you a quick demonstration of what the alap sounds like. Long held notes and this gentle introduction of the raga scale. The second section is called the Johor, and the Johor is where the music speeds up a little bit. It's a bit more rhythmic. It's still not a defined sense of pulse. And there's a sort of free improvised melody around that raga scale, and the improvisation is again done by the sitar. So this is slightly different, but not much different. So let's have a look at this. So it's slightly faster, it's a bit more rhythmic, it's a bit more together, there's a bit more a sense of a melody, even though it's still quite slow and it's still quite atmospheric. And then we move on to the jala. Now the jala is it's a lot faster, so we have speed up in tempo, and we have improvisation from the players that are playing the main tala and raga ideas. So it's still improvised. It's all around the central raga scale and the tala rhythmic stuff, but the tempo is increased a little bit. Okay, so I'll give you a demonstration of what we mean by the jala. Okay. And the fourth and final section is what we call the gat or the bandish. Now, it's called a gat if it's only instruments, and it's called a bandish if there are vocals as well. Okay? So gat, instruments only, bandish when there are vocals. Now, this is a pre-composed section. So this is the part of the raga that feels a little bit more secure from a Western point of view. We also have the tabla player, who's the drummer, which we did hear in the Jala section there actually, which is slightly unusual, but the tabla plays a sort of consistent rhythm during the gat and the bandish. This is sort of the majority of the raga, and sometimes we like move between the two, so we might have a couple of gats, we might have a couple of jalas, we might go back to an alap section, etc. So it can be quite fluid, but there's normally more than one gat or more than one bandish. So I'll give you an example of what this looks like. There we go. So it's a lot more rhythmic. Tabla player is very prominent, but it's playing a consistent rhythm rather than just interspersed in improvisatory ideas. It feels a little bit more secure in that it's pre-composed, so we start to get used to what we should hear. Now, you have to bear in mind that these pieces of music, one raga, may go on for 25 minutes, 30 minutes. So they're quite long. They can be very long, and these sections can be very long in themselves, which is just something for you to bear in mind. So that is Indian classical music in a nutshell. We are going to do some listening exercises in the next section, and I'm going to play you 3 pieces of music, and I would like you to listen to them carefully and see if you can pick out some instrumentation, but also pick out some structure or some structural devices that have been used. Okay, so you'll need to use your knowledge from this lesson, and you'll need to use your knowledge from the previous lesson in order to be able to accurately answer those questions. If there's any worries, then please just give me an email. Okay, good luck. See you in a bit.